Jordan Davis, to me, is the X factor of the Eagles defense. When he's in there, the other team is accounting for that. When Jordan Davis is in there, opponents are game planning for that. You're home for real Eagles talk. You're home for real football talk. And we'll get into some of that Monday Night Football action. I called my shot. I said, give me the Chargers to win. Broncos with the points, 4.5. It'll be a field goal kind of game. And that it was into overtime. Lot of trickle-down ramifications and the whole Russell Wilson fallout. Now he's got another excuse with the hamstring last night. I'll get into some of that later on in the show, but we're still focused on our undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, your number one seed in the National Football League and your number one team atop the RIC rankings. I've got the Eagles 1, the Bills 2, and the Chiefs 3. That is your cream of the crop of the National Football League. Those are your tier 1 contenders. Everybody else is looking up. Everybody else is looking up. William Stark, thank you for joining the show. Shout out to all our chat room people. 007, Showtime, Sammy Chan, Espo, good to see you. Alexander, Showtime, Stephen Day. A lot of people chopping it up, all excited about the Philadelphia Eagles. Bird Gang, what up, peeps? Show your boys some love while you're here. Smash that like button. We appreciate it. And some of you think the Lions can beat the Cowboys this week. I don't know. Dak Prescott's coming back, and the differential of quality play at the quarterback position, despite Cooper Rush and his 5-1 record as a starter, the Eagles exposed him for the fraud that he is on Sunday. How about this stat line? And Cooper Rush was so terrible, guys. When he needed to make a big play downfield, he couldn't. And we talked about how big confidence is. He lacks the confidence to throw the ball downfield because he knows he can't complete it. He can't do it. Richard Rosani, I never forget my paisanos. Alexander Freeman, you know that. Rusty Dak Alexander, I don't know. I think he's chomping at the bit. I think he's chomping to come out and make a statement. I think the Cowboys could put up a lot of points against the Lions this week. Now, Cooper Rush, the first quarterback in a decade. This is how bad the Eagles pulverized Cooper Rush on Sunday. He's the first quarterback in a decade to complete less than 50% of his passes, throw for less than 200 yards, and throw 3 interceptions. The last quarterback to do that, it happened 10 years ago. And I think it was a first-round pick. You'll never guess. For being a first-round pick, I'm pretty sure he was a first-round pick, an older one. For being a first-round pick, his name has been forgotten pretty quickly from the record books. Quarterback Brandon Weeden of your Cleveland Browns in 2012. The last quarterback to have such a stinky stat line. Troy Aikman, by the way, is the last Cowboys quarterback to do it. In 1991, the infamous rookie season, Aikman also threw for less than 50%, under 200 yards, and 3 interceptions against your Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles won that game 24-0, by the way. And to add insult to injury, they sacked Troy Boy 11 times, just for good measure. I saw Troy Aikman announcing the game on Amazon the other day. He looked like he was still wiping out the cobwebs from that game. I've got I've got notes from Ric Sirianni's press conference yesterday, but I'm kind of excited to unveil my top 5 most valuable Eagles players on offense and defense. So let's do that one first. Have a little bit of fun. By the way, tomorrow we'll have Eddie Kratz from Eagles Today and Kayla Santiago from Delmarva Sports talking more Eagles football. But I'm going to start off on defense. We'll go the top 5 most valuable players for your Philadelphia Eagles as we enter the bye week. And Ric Sirianni said they're going to do a lot of assessing. They're going to do a lot of prioritizing. And they're going to make a hit list of what they need to get better at. I'm going to tell you my top 5 most valuable Eagles players through the first 6 weeks. You ready? Number 5, I'm starting off knowing that I'm going to take some criticism. I'm going to probably take some heat for my 5th most valuable player on the Eagles defense this year. And he's only played not even a third of the snaps. But when he's in there, it's like ragu. It's in there. And Jordan Davis changes the whole complexion of the Eagles defense when he's in there. When Jordan Davis is in there, lined up at nose tackle, over the center, it just opens up the possibilities for Jonathan Gannon and the defensive playbook. Because I really like the last 2 weeks with Fletcher Cox and Jordan Hargrave lining up on each side of Jordan Davis with this 5-man front. Jordan Davis, to me, is the X factor of the Eagles defense. When he's in there, the other team is accounting for that. When Jordan Davis is in there, opponents are game planning for that. And I'll tell you what, a lot of times, Jordan Davis has got 2 bodies on him. And when he doesn't, he's making plays in the run game. He's stuffing the run. He's clogging the holes. But, man, this guy, what he's meant to the Eagles defense has been invaluable. Because when he eats space or engulfs double team, sometimes triple team coverage, you got guys like TJ Edwards and Kaiser White shooting the gaps, opening up the lanes. The whole defense opens up because of Jordan Davis. So I get it. He's only played about a third of the snaps, not even a starter. But to me, when you're talking about most valuable players on the defensive side of the ball, Jordan Davis comes in at number 5 for me. And I do think he'll see more snaps. And I do think he'll be a starter come playoff time. Number 4. And really, number 4 and number 3, you could flip-flop. At number 4, I'm going to put the hometown hero, Hassan Reddick. Welcome back, my friend. You've been a stud. Okay, Jordan Davis, by the way, 12 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection. I get it. He's not lighting up the stat box. But, man, that guy is valuable. He is valuable, Jordan Davis. Number 4 for me is Reddick. 14 tackles, but 4.5 of them are sacks. And to me, Reddick sets the edge. And he sets the tone of this defense. And he's got his finger on the pulse, being a Camden product. He understands it. First year with the Eagles, but he spent his whole life in the Philadelphia culture. He gets it. Reddick gets it, and it feels like he's been there forever. It does. Now, early on in the season, first game and a half, he was a little bit invisible, right? We came back after that week 1 game and said, I haven't seen Hassan Reddick except for the back of the milk carton. Since then, he's been on fire, guys. 4.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. We talk about all these sack masters on the Eagles, and Fletcher Cox, I think, has got 3, and Josh Sweat, I think, has got 3. Brandon Graham has got 3, but Reddick is the guy back in the backfield, applying the pressure and leading the charge. We'll get to the back end secondary play in a minute. The pressure that Reddick brings up front is a big reason why that Eagles secondary is playing so good. And, you know, does a great pass rush evolve from great pass coverage? Or does great pass coverage evolve from great pass rush? It's the chicken or the egg argument. Hassan Reddick, what he's brought to this team off of the edge, 4.5 sacks, that puts him on pace for about 15. That's what they're paying him to do. Get after the quarterback. So to me, Jordan Davis is 5, Hassan Reddick is 4, and TJ Edwards, I've got him at 3. 14 tackles this week against the Cowgirls. 55 tackles on the season. 35 or 36 of them solo, but TJ Edwards has cleaned up and mopped up the mess. He's in there on the run game. 4 tackles for loss. Oh, by the way, he too has a pair of sacks. 3 pass deflections. Batting down balls. Getting his hands on passes. Oh, by the way, playing all the special team snaps. This is a 4-down player. Is there anything TJ Edwards can't do? You know, they got a comeback player of the year award in the NFL. Maybe they should have a most improved player of the year award, because TJ Edwards is it. Here's a guy who set a career high in tackles a season ago. He had 66 tackles last year, which was a career high. Through 6 games, TJ Edwards already has 55 tackles. Are you kidding me? This guy might lead the league in tackles. He's on pace for 175 tackles. TJ Edwards is. He has been rock solid in the middle of that defense. And quite frankly, I don't know if he's come off the field yet. I'm pretty sure TJ Edwards has played every single snap on defense this season. And I would bet at least 50%, if not more, of the special team snaps. This guy, I mean, when you talk about most improved player, undrafted, career high, 66 tackles last year, 55 through 6 games, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 3 pass deflections. This guy's gotten good. Not just good, real good. TJ Edwards is the real deal. Okay? Now, I've got Jordan Davis at 5, Hassan Reddick at 4, TJ Edwards as 3 in terms of most valuable players on the defensive side of the ball. And just like I said, you could flip-flop Reddick or Edwards. They've both made a huge impact. The next 2 guys, I think you can also state a case for flip-flopping. And Espo, great minds think alike. Espo, I know it hurts in the chat room. great minds think alike. James Bradberry. I said it on yesterday's show. Out of all the offseason acquisitions, Hassan Reddick, A.J. Brown, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Kaiser White, Jordan Davis, the list goes on and on and on. There has not been a more impactful offseason addition than what James Bradberry has meant to this Philadelphia Eagles defense and team. He's just added a whole nother element. Having 1A and 1B lockdown corners has changed the whole dynamic of this defense. Maybe there's a reason why 5 Eagles have 3 sacks. It's because the coverage is so good. The lockdown coverage is so good that when you cover man-to-man, and we talked about it against the Cowboys, 40% of the defensive snaps in man-to-man coverage, this is a luxury, quite frankly, that I don't think any other NFL team has. Go find me the cornerback duo that's as good as Slay and Bradberry. It doesn't exist, guys. He was the number 1 corner on the Giants, and now he's come and kind of been that 1B. And listen, only 15 tackles, but 9 pass deflections through 6 games. 2 interceptions. Of course, the big pick 6 for a touchdown. Bradberry's got 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and a pass deflection. Wow. Bradberry's playing lights out, and you could state a case. You could state a case that Bradberry is the most valuable defensive player. He's been that good. And when Slay was out, Bradberry stepped right up. The Eagles defense really didn't skip a beat. However, you did see when Slay is out, you can be picked on. They found ways. Christian Kirk, the Jaguars, I think, found ways to make big plays. It's been there when Slay's out. And that's why, to me, while he's probably missed more snaps and played fewer snaps than my first 4 guys on the list, to me, in terms of being the most valuable, Darius Slay, he's put himself in the conversation as the top lockdown corner in the league. And yes, I agree, Espo. I know it hurts in the chat room. Slay was overlooked for a long time because he was on a terrible, terrible Detroit Lions team. And I heard him say the other day, he's never been 6-0 in his life, so it feels great. Don't tell Darius Slay that he doesn't want to hear 6-0, because he's never been 6-0 in his life, and he's loving every second of it. By the way, he said, hey, our whole game plan last week was to stop the run in the first half and force Cooper Rush to throw it in the second half, because we know good things come to those who wait. Good things come when you put Cooper Rush in a situation to have to throw the ball. So he said, hey, that was the game plan all along. Darius Big Play Slay is your most valuable player on the defensive side of the ball. And if you don't believe me, listen to what Ric Serritella said yesterday in his presser. They asked him about Darius Slay and the leadership. And he said, Darius Slay has been one of the best team leaders he's ever been around in his life. In his life. Darius Slay is one of the best team leaders I've ever been around, says Ric Serritella. And he talks about the mentorship on and off the field. Whatever you need, I got you. If it's staying after practice, he said Slay's been there with veterans, he's been there with rookies, and he's been there with everybody in between. Staying after practice, taking guys under his wing, and a lot of these offseason acquisitions, Slay said, hey, we welcome them in like family. It's more than football. It's more than football when it comes to leadership. And Sirianni talks about, hey, this guy just knows what it takes. He sees a teammate with nowhere to go on Thanksgiving. You know who the first player is to offer him an invite over to his house on Thanksgiving? Darius Slay. Any Eagle with no place to go last year went to Darius Slay's house. Said, guys, their car's broken down. They don't have a way to get home. You know who the first guy is to volunteer and give up their ride or their vehicle? Darius Slay. He's that guy. Darius Slay is that dude. Don't take my word for it. That's Ric Serritella talking. Not this paisan. That's a different paisan. And it brings me back to this great quote that I saw circulating early on in the season, and I've talked about it on this show. It's been a couple weeks since I mentioned it. And we got the Steelers on deck October 30th coming out of the bye. But Mike Tomlin's quote is starting to really resonate with me. He said, in case you're a first-time listener here on the Football Playbook, smash the like button while you're here. Tomlin said, how can you expect unique results in this great game of football without having unique relationships? It's so true, guys. Think about it. This great game of football is so hard. It involves so much strategy and studying and dedication and self-discipline. How could you possibly expect unique results without having unique relationships? And that, my friends, is what Darius Slay brings, not just to the playing field, but behind closed doors in the locker room. It's called the X factor. It's called the intangibles when it comes to leadership. And I'm sure we'll talk about how it relates to Jalen Hurts on the offensive side of the ball when I do my top 5 most valuable offensive players after the commercial break. And it was a lot harder than picking 5 defensive players. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I agree with you guys. He gets the honorable mention. I didn't have room for him in my top 5. And it's only because of consistency. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson might have had the highest of high all plays. He's also been in there on some of the lowest of low plays. So to me, when I take a look at my top 5, Jordan Davis, TJ Edwards, Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury, and Darius Slay, it's more because of the consistency through the first 6 games. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, don't get me wrong, he deserves consideration. He deserves to be in this conversation. I just think he's a little bit more streakier than these other 5 guys I have in there. But I agree, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson playing great football, and he had his best game of the season, I think, this past week with the big 2 interceptions, no doubt about it. So those are my top 5 most valuable Eagles players as we head into the bye week. Nick Walker, it's a beautiful city of Pittsburgh, absolutely. But it's a brotherly love city of Philadelphia that we're feeling and vibing right now. I will say, if you haven't been to Pittsburgh, what a scenic stadium, man. Three Rivers. Going over that bridge where the Three Rivers meet, and you've got all those ballparks and stadiums down there. It's so cool. So cool. The city of Pittsburgh. Really, really underrated. And they got a lot of good breweries, by the way, in Pittsburgh. It is a great scenic stadium, a great venue to take in a ball game for sure. Definitely recommend it if you haven't. All right. So I thought it would be a good week to do this. Take a look at the top 5 most valuable defensive players. Take a look at the top 5 most valuable offensive players. And then I've got notes from Nick Sirianni's press conference from yesterday. I've also got notes from Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, James Bradbury, Jordan Mailata, Jason Kelce, Darius Slay. They all spoke to the media after the game. I've got notes on notes on notes on notes here at the Football Playbook with your boy, RIC, in the place to be. It's the Football Playbook. It's JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Smash the like button. We're going to pay some bills. We got 1 hour of power down. Another hour of power to go. Counting you down a sports take at noon Eastern time. Buckle up. It's a double chin strap affair. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this.